My husband made me quit my job to rest, then used my unemployment to file for full custody. It wasn't a fight. That's the part that haunts me most. There was no screaming, no broken plates, no final straw. Just a slow fade into silence. A quiet betrayal that moved like smoke through the walls of our home, choking everything before I realized what was happening. We were married 7 years. Our son, Nathan, is 5. I used to be a paralegal at a small but busy firm. Not glamorous, but I liked it. I liked the structure, the independence, the rhythm. But Daniel, my husband, always said I worked too much. You don't need to hustle so hard, he'd say, brushing hair from my eyes like he was soothing me. Let me take care of us. It started small. He suggested a few weeks off. Said I looked burnt out. Said Nathan missed me. And honestly, I did feel tired. I missed my son. Then came the accident. Nothing major. I slipped carrying laundry down the stairs and sprained my ankle badly enough that the doctor gave me a boot and 2 weeks off. Daniel became incredibly attentive. Showed up at work with flowers. Took over bedtime stories. Cooked. Cleaned. This is what life could be like, he said one night, tucking me in. You don't need to exhaust yourself. Just rest. Just be here. And for a little while, I believed him. So I quit. No dramatic storm out. Just a quiet, respectful resignation. I gave them 2 weeks, thanked them for everything. Daniel reassured me we could live on his income alone. We'll cut back a little, make it work. What matters is your peace. He used that word a lot, peace. As if my job was a war. At first, it felt right. I was home more. Took Nathan to school. Packed his lunches just how he liked them. I even started painting again. Nothing serious. Just small canvases for our hallway. Daniel praised them. Called them beautiful. Said I was his rock. But then, something shifted. He began coming home later. Said work was overwhelming. He'd eat dinner standing at the counter, his phone buzzing nonstop. When I asked if he was okay, he'd just sigh. You wouldn't understand. You're not in the grind anymore. Then came the bills. I noticed more late payment notices. Utilities. Credit card minimums. It's temporary, he told me. Had to float some business costs. It'll even out soon. So I offered to look for part-time work. Something remote. Something flexible. No, he snapped. We already agreed. You needed peace. It didn't feel like peace anymore. It felt like isolation. Nathan started acting out at school. Nothing extreme. Talking back, refusing naps, hitting another kid with a toy. I tried to talk to Daniel. He's a boy, he shrugged. Toughen up. That was his favorite phrase. I started watching our bank account more closely. Not secretly. I had access. But I noticed transfers I didn't recognize. Large ones. Thousands of dollars. All going to someone named C. Harper. When I asked about it, he turned cold. Business partner, he said. It's none of your concern. But it was. Because I had nothing. No income. No savings. I'd even cashed out my 401k when we renovated the kitchen, his idea. He'd called it an investment in our home's future. Then one afternoon, I got home from picking up Nathan and found a letter taped to the fridge. Not a handwritten note. A court summons. Daniel had filed for divorce. And for full custody of our son. The reason? Instability. Financial dependence. Mental unwellness. He claimed I was unfit. That I had refused to return to work. That my emotional volatility made Nathan unsafe. There were pages and pages. Affidavits. Timelines. A log of every time I cried in front of our son. He said I was depressed. Erratic. He had weaponized every moment I'd ever trusted him with. Every I'm tired. Every I feel overwhelmed. He had been building a case while I was sleeping beside him. I dropped the papers. Called his phone. Straight to voicemail. Then I called my old job. My manager answered and sounded hesitant. Said she was sorry. That she'd heard I was suffering from postpartum depression and hoped I was getting help. What? Daniel had called them after I left. Told them I wasn't well. Said he just wanted to be sure I didn't return too soon. He salted the earth. Months ago, I sat on the kitchen floor, staring at the fridge, until Nathan wandered in asking for a snack. Where's Daddy? He asked. I couldn't answer. That night, I packed a bag. Just the essentials. I didn't know where we were going. I only knew we couldn't stay. Because this wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just divorce. This was war. And Daniel had been planning it from the moment he asked me to rest. I didn't go far. Just down the block, to my sister's place. Julie. She was the only person I could call without shame climbing up my throat. And even then, I sat in my car outside her building for 15 minutes before I could move. When I finally knocked, Julie opened the door in sweatpants and a messy bun. She blinked twice, said nothing, and then pulled me into the apartment like she already knew everything. Nathan clung to my leg. He didn't understand what was happening, only that Daddy wasn't home and Mommy was shaking. Julie made tea, sat me on the couch. Nathan curled up with her dog and watched cartoons while I came undone in silence. "You don't have to talk," she said softly. "But you can." So I handed her the court papers. She read them slowly. Her brow tightened with every page. Halfway through, she paused, looked up at me, and said, "You need a lawyer." "Yesterday." I nodded. The tears had dried up. In their place, nausea, a spinning gut, and a bitter taste I couldn't swallow. I had no money, no income, no references, thanks to whatever Daniel had whispered behind my back. My bank account had under $400. But I had Julie. She pulled out her laptop and started searching. Legal aid, women's shelters, advocacy groups. She's a social worker. This was her battlefield. We found a nonprofit that offered emergency legal consultation for women in family court. I booked the earliest appointment they had, the next morning. That night, I lay in her guest room beside Nathan. He fell asleep in seconds, like kids do. One of his hands wrapped around my finger, even in sleep. And I broke. Quietly. Not sobbing. Not loud. I didn't want to wake him. But inside, it felt like something had been amputated, and I'd watched it happen. How did I not see it? How long had he been planning this? All those nights he kissed me goodnight. All those mornings he brought me coffee. All of it, it had been a performance. Every smile, every touch, rehearsed. I used to think I was safe in our marriage. Now I realized I'd just been asleep. And Nathan, our child, the boy I carried, raised, loved with every cell in my body. Daniel wanted to cut me out like a subplot that didn't test well. He wasn't rewriting our story. He was erasing me from it. I didn't sleep. The next morning, Julie drove us to the legal clinic. It was a narrow office, tucked between a vape shop and a shuttered tax service. But the woman I met inside? Linda. Gray hair, sharp eyes, a voice like gravel and steel. She flipped through the summons silently, then looked me straight in the eye. "He's good," she said. "This is calculated." I nodded. "But not perfect," she added. "He overplayed his hand." I told her everything. The ankle injury, the pressure to quit, the unexplained transfers, the emotional gaslighting, the timeline. She took furious notes. "He wanted you isolated," she said. "Financially dependent, emotionally destabilized. That's the pattern." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "What can I do?" Linda leaned back. Calm. Certain. "First, file a response. Deny everything. Then we go on offense. He thinks you're buried, but you're still breathing. That's his first mistake." For the first time in days, I didn't feel powerless. I felt rage. Not the explosive kind, the kind that burns cold and clear. He had tried to erase me, but I was still here. Linda helped me file our response that same day. Emergency custody hearing. Declaration of financial coercion. Subpoena request for his financials. That night, I stayed up late on Julie's couch, documenting everything. Dates, texts, screenshots, even the paintings Daniel once called your therapy. I realized now, he didn't see them as art. He saw them as evidence. I also opened a new bank account, applied for every state benefit I qualified for. Julie helped me sign up for a food card. She covered groceries for the week. "It's not charity," she said. "It's armor." 3 days later, Daniel's lawyer emailed us. He wanted to negotiate an amicable custody arrangement. I laughed out loud, because suddenly, he realized I wasn't backing down. I was standing up. The first court hearing was a week later. Julie drove me. I wore the blazer I used to keep for interviews, the one I never got to wear because I stopped looking. Nathan stayed with Julie's neighbor, a retired kindergarten teacher who baked cookies just because it was Tuesday. I walked into that courtroom with a mouth like sandpaper and a heart I couldn't slow down. Daniel was already there. Polished. Calm. Hair neatly parted. Navy suit perfectly tailored. He looked like the protagonist in his own courtroom drama. His lawyer was young, maybe early 30s, tapping at her tablet like she was revising an agenda, not trying to take my child. He didn't look at me. I couldn't tell if it was strategy or cowardice. Linda sat beside me and leaned in. "Breathe. You're not on trial." The judge entered. Middle-aged woman. Tired eyes, firm presence. Something in her posture made me sit taller. Daniel's lawyer went first. She laid out their case like a spreadsheet, line by line, stripped of emotion. My emotional instability, my refusal to return to work, their concern for Nathan's welfare. They submitted character references. From Daniel's gym buddy. From two co-workers I'd never met. It was clinical, sanitized, a narrative bleached of nuance. Then Linda stood. She didn't pace, didn't perform. She simply walked the judge through the timeline. The accident, the pressure to quit, the increasing dependence, the surprise divorce filing. What my client experienced, she said, was not just emotional abandonment. It was strategic isolation, financial entrapment masked as concern. Then she handed over the financials. Transfers to C. Harper. Thousands. The judge raised an eyebrow. Mr. Caro, she said, turning to Daniel. Who is C. Harper? Daniel adjusted his tie. A consultant. Business-related. Linda didn't miss a beat. We request a subpoena for all communications with Ms. Harper to verify that. Daniel's jaw clenched. His lawyer scribbled something. Then the judge turned to me. Mrs. Caro, is there anything you'd like to add? I stood. My knees felt hollow, but my voice held. Yes, Your Honor. I love my son. He is my world. And I believe his father knows that. Which is why it terrifies me. Not that he's questioning my ability, but that he's trying to erase me. Not because I'm unfit, but because I don't fit the version of himself he wants the world to see. Silence. Even Daniel looked up. I sat down slowly. My hands trembled, but not from fear. From adrenaline. The judge made notes. Then recessed. We waited in the hallway. Julie paced. Linda scrolled her phone. I just sat, staring at the scuffed tile floor. When we were called back, the judge didn't make a final ruling, but she issued a temporary joint custody order. Nathan would split his time equally between us. No major changes until further review. It wasn't everything I wanted, but it was enough. Daniel walked past me without a word, but I saw it, the smallest twitch in his jaw. He wasn't used to losing. That night, I picked Nathan up from Julie's neighbor. He ran into my arms, face buried in my neck. Did Daddy say I can stay with you now? I blinked fast, swallowing 1,000 things I couldn't explain. Yeah, baby. We're gonna make it work. Because we had to. The next morning, Linda called. We found something. You're not going to like it, but it might just save your case. She emailed over screenshots from Daniel's shared business account. Turns out C. Harper wasn't a consultant. She was his girlfriend. They'd been renting a second apartment for months. Dinners, hotels, jewelry, all paid with company funds. I stared at the screen, and for the first time, I didn't cry. Because deep down, I already knew. But it wasn't the affair that gutted me. It was the structure, the planning, the fact that he'd built a second life while I packed lunches and painted hallway art like I was rebuilding something real. I called Linda. Is that enough? It's a start, she said. But we need a witness. Someone neutral. Someone who saw. I hesitated. Then I said a name I hadn't spoken in years. Lena, our old nanny. Linda didn't miss a beat. Find her. Because now, this wasn't just about custody. It was about reclaiming the life he tried to rewrite without me. I hadn't spoken to Lena in almost 3 years. She left when Nathan turned 2. Daniel had insisted we no longer needed help. Time to tighten up, he said. Keep things in the family. I didn't push back. But deep down, I knew the truth. Lena saw too much. She was in her early 40s, Romanian, sharp as a scalpel under all that softness. Nathan adored her. And honestly, I trusted her more than most of my friends. I dug through an old email thread and found her number. She picked up on the second ring. This is Lena. Lena, it's Rachel Caro. Silence. Then, I was wondering when you'd call. I slid to the floor of Julie's laundry room, eyes closed. I need help. Her voice didn't waver. Tell me where and when. We met the next morning. Quiet cafe near her place. She looked the same, calm, precise, like someone who's already done the math on whatever chaos you bring her. Over coffee, I laid it all out. The job, the ankle, the finances, the custody ambush, the second apartment, the girlfriend. Lena didn't flinch. He used to test you, she said. Little things. Leaving messes, ignoring chores, then blaming you for not catching up. It was always about control. My breath caught. You noticed? She nodded. He didn't like that I did. That's why he let me go. Would you testify? She paused, long enough that I felt the weight of the question land between us. Then she pulled a small notebook from her purse. Flipped to a marked page. I kept notes, she said. I wasn't spying. But there were things I couldn't ignore. For Nathan. In case it ever came to this. She slid it across the table. It was filled with dates. Incidents. Quotes. The time Daniel left Nathan in the bath to take a business call. The way he spoke when no one was around. Passive-aggressive. Dismissive. Belittling. I'll testify, she said. I hadn't realized I was crying until she handed me a napkin. I thought I was losing my mind. You weren't, she said gently. You were isolated. There's a difference. I brought the notebook to Linda that afternoon. She read it cover to cover and looked up like she'd just loaded ammunition. We've got him. We filed a motion to admit Lena's testimony and notebook as evidence of coercive control, a pattern of psychological abuse masked as concern. That same week, I started working part-time at a local print shop. Julie's friend owned it and needed help. It wasn't much, but it was a step. A paycheck. Something with my name on it. Nathan adjusted surprisingly well. He loved Julie's neighbor, loved the print shop when I brought him by, loved coloring at the counter while I rang up ink cartridges. Then came the drop-off. Daniel was already waiting when I pulled up. He stood near the curb, arms crossed. That perfect neutral expression he always wore when there were witnesses. You're late, he said. I wasn't. He was early. Nathan ran to him. Daniel bent to pick him up, but never looked away from me. You really want to drag this through court? He muttered. You already did. He smirked. We can make a deal. I'm not bargaining over my son. His smile faltered. You're making a mistake. So did you. I turned and walked back to the car. My hands shook the whole way. The next morning, Linda called. He hired a PR firm. I froze. They're planting stories. Whisper campaigns. Making him look like the single dad with an unstable ex-wife. I opened Facebook. Private post from one of his friends. Dozens of comments. Can't believe Rachel's doing this. Poor Nathan. He always put his family first. She was always intense. That woman was never right. Lies. But lies gain traction when they come from a polished source. They wanted to make me look unhinged. So I did the opposite. I stayed steady. I documented everything. Every drop-off. Every text. Every word Nathan repeated that sounded borrowed from adult mouths. Daddy said you don't want me to be happy. Daddy said you're trying to take me away. I never responded in kind. Not once. Because I refused to make my son the battlefield. But I took action. I enrolled in a parenting therapy program. Not because the court told me to. Because I needed tools. I wanted to protect Nathan without poisoning him. It helped. I learned to redirect. To hold boundaries without bitterness. To speak calmly, even when I wanted to scream. Your daddy loves you very much, I'd say. And so do I. What matters is that you feel safe. And slowly, he did. I could see it in his sleep. In the way his hands stopped clenching. In the way he reached for mine without flinching. One night, as I tucked him in, he whispered, Are you ever going to leave me? I kissed his forehead. Never. A week before the next hearing, Daniel called. Not a text. A full call. I let it go to voicemail. His message started measured, then cracked around the edges. Rachel, this is ridiculous. We don't have to go through with this. We can co-parent like adults. You're not thinking clearly. Nathan's the one who's going to suffer if you keep pushing. Just call me. I didn't. Because every time I heard his voice now, my whole body recoiled. But he was right about one thing. Nathan was caught in the middle. And it terrified me. He asked questions sometimes, quiet, tentative ones. Why don't we live together anymore? Why does Daddy say you don't love him? One night, he woke up crying. Said he dreamed I disappeared. I held him all night. Whispered, again and again, I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. But truthfully, I was scared. That Daniel would twist something. Stage something. Win. And take Nathan from me. Linda kept me grounded. Focused. We prepared like we were building a fortress. Lena's testimony. The financial records. The timelines. Screenshots. Smear campaigns. Everything. He's trying to destabilize you, she said. He's hoping you crack in front of a judge. Don't give him that power. And I didn't. Until the envelope. It was waiting for me on Julie's doorstep one night. No return address. Just my name scribbled in Daniel's handwriting. Inside, a stack of photos. Me and Nathan. At the park. At the print shop. Walking home. All taken from a distance. There was a note. You sure he's safe with you? Julie found me 20 minutes later, curled up in the laundry room, clutching the photos like they might bite. We're calling the police, she said. They won't do anything, I whispered. It's not illegal to take photos in public. Then we file a harassment report, a restraining order, something. This isn't custody. This is stalking. I knew she was right. Daniel wasn't trying to win anymore. He was trying to break me, to make me unravel, publicly, legally, permanently. But I didn't. The next morning, I drove to the police station, filed the report myself. I brought the photos, the note, logged every instance of unsolicited contact. Then I emailed everything to Linda. She added it to our file. You're doing everything right, she said. Just hold steady. Because this time, the hearing mattered. It wasn't about temporary orders anymore. This was the ruling. Permanent custody. Julie came with me, sat beside me until it was time to walk in. Nathan stayed with Lena. She offered without hesitation. She's a real one, Julie said. I nodded. Daniel was already seated. His lawyer had upgraded. Polished suit. Bigger briefcase. Thicker file. So did we. The judge entered. Same one. Still tired eyes. But now she knew us. Daniel's team opened first. They doubled down. Called me unstable. Financially inconsistent. Emotionally unreliable. They mentioned my time off work. My previous therapy sessions. My history of postpartum anxiety. I felt bile rise in my throat. He's using postpartum, I whispered to Linda. She didn't even blink. Let them. Then it was our turn. Linda stood with calm fire. She called Lena to the stand. Lena's voice didn't shake once. She described Daniel's control, his silence, his absences, the emotional minefield he'd created. She spoke of the bath incident, the gaslighting, the power games. Then came the notebook, the dates, the comments, the moments no one saw, but she did. Then came the photos, the bank records, the timeline of emotional and financial manipulation. Then me. I took the stand. I didn't cry. I told the truth. How I used to believe in my marriage. How I believed Daniel when he told me to rest. How I gave him the benefit of the doubt, over and over, because I wanted to hold our family together. But being a good parent, I said, isn't about power. It's not about control or optics. It's about being present, being steady, loving your child more than you love being right. The judge asked questions, lots of them, about Nathan's routines, his school, his health, our schedule, his friendships, his drawings. I answered every one. So did Daniel. He sounded rehearsed. But I watched the judge's face. And I saw it, a flicker, a pause, when Daniel said. Rachel was always dramatic. After closing statements, the judge recessed. I sat in that room with my hands clenched in my lap and my heart in my throat. An hour passed. Then she returned and read the ruling. Shared custody. Equal time. But primary residence? Me. Exchanges? Public locations? Third-party witness present. Daniel's request for sole custody? Denied. His claim that I was unstable? Unsubstantiated and deeply concerning. I barely heard the rest. I felt Julie's hand tighten around mine. I had won. Not everything, but enough. I didn't take Nathan away. I kept him safe. And for the first time in months, I kept myself, too. I should have felt relief. The court ruled in my favor. Nathan was staying with me. There were rules now. Boundaries. But peace? Peace didn't come. Because Daniel didn't stop. Not after the hearing. Not after the warnings. Not even after the judge called his tactics deeply concerning. The order was clear. Public exchanges, third-party witnesses, no contact outside the parenting schedule. So he found other ways. He played games. He'd show up early. Or late. Just enough to rattle me. Never enough to violate the order. He brought Nathan gifts, expensive ones, and whispered, "Don't tell Mommy." Once, Nathan came home with a brand new tablet. "Daddy said it's for being brave," he told me. Brave? Another time, during a drop-off, Daniel leaned down in front of the witness and said, "Hope he doesn't hear you crying tonight." It wasn't about parenting anymore. It was war by other means. Psychological. Strategic. He couldn't win in court, so he came for my mind. I documented everything. Every dig. Every manipulation. Every time Nathan repeated something that didn't sound like him. "Daddy said you don't want me to be happy. Daddy said you made him leave." I never reacted. Not once. Because I refused to let our son become the battlefield. But I did fight. Differently. I enrolled in a parenting therapy program. No one told me to. I did it for me. For Nathan. I needed tools. Language. A way to navigate the minefield Daniel left behind. It helped. I learned how to speak without turning Nathan into a messenger, how to hold boundaries with kindness, how to teach him safety without teaching him fear. Your daddy loves you, I'd say, when he was confused. And so do I. What matters is that you feel safe. And over time, he did. I saw it in the way he slept. No more clenched fists. No more tossing. He reached for my hand in the grocery store without looking up. One night, while I was tucking him in, he asked, "Are you ever going to leave me?" I didn't cry. I just kissed his forehead. Never. Meanwhile, Linda kept moving behind the scenes. She filed motions to tighten enforcement, requested a co-parenting coordinator. Daniel resisted everything. But then, he made a mistake. He forgot how much power a child's words can carry. It happened at school. Parent-teacher night. Daniel showed up outside his scheduled time. Said he just wanted a quick word. Smiled like he always did when he wanted something. But the teacher had read the court order. She told him to wait and called me. I got there 20 minutes later. Nathan was at a small round table, coloring. When he saw me, he looked up and said something that cracked the room wide open. "Daddy said you were crazy. But you're not. You always come." Daniel turned red. The teacher froze. I crouched beside Nathan, heart pounding. "Thanks for waiting, sweetheart. I'm here now." Daniel left without a word. That night, I sent Linda the full report. The teacher agreed to write a statement. Because now, this wasn't just about custody. This was about emotional harm, the manipulation, the ongoing intimidation. And the court listened. Within a month, Daniel was ordered to attend a high-conflict parenting course. All future exchanges? Supervised. His PR campaign? Quietly faded. His lawyer? Filed a motion to withdraw from the case. And for the first time in nearly a year, the silence that followed wasn't hostile. It was real. Not perfect. Not permanent. But it was ours. I still sleep lightly. I still triple-check every pickup, every voicemail, every knock on the door. But Nathan? He laughs more now. He sings in the car again. He builds Lego cities and names them. He draws pictures of our apartment and always adds the sun in the corner. And then one day, I found one taped to the fridge. 2 stick figures, one big, one small, holding hands. Daniel was there too, drawn in the corner, far away. But above our heads, in crooked 5-year-old letters, Nathan had written, "My safe place." And that night, that was the first time I slept without fear. Because no matter what Daniel did next, he couldn't take that from me. I used to think healing would feel like crossing a finish line. Like I'd run through some invisible banner, arms raised, and everything would make sense again. But healing is quieter than that. It's in the Tuesdays. The ones where Nathan runs through the door, yelling about dinosaurs and spilled juice and who got in trouble during art class. It's in the nights he falls asleep before I can finish the first page of his bedtime story. It's in the mornings when I wake up and, for half a second, forget to brace myself for another battle. That's what recovery looks like. Not triumph. Not revenge. Stability. I started painting again. Not the soft hallway canvases, but big, chaotic ones. Bold brushstrokes. Rage-colored reds and midnight purples. Pieces I didn't frame. Just painted and let dry. Julie called it my rage series. She wasn't wrong. There was rage in them. Still is. Some of it aimed at Daniel. But more, honestly, at myself. For not seeing it sooner. For mistaking exhaustion for devotion. Control for care. Silence for peace. For all the times I whispered to myself, "He's just tired. He doesn't mean it. It's just a rough patch." I had to grieve that woman. The one who kept shrinking to make him comfortable. Because she's gone. And the one who replaced her? She doesn't apologize for being loud. Or angry. Or alive. Daniel still exists in our lives. That's the reality of shared custody. Nathan deserves to know his father. But now there are rules. Clear ones. There's a legal record, too. And a child who remembers who showed up. The other day, it was Nathan's birthday. My year to plan the party. I kept it simple. Backyard, a few friends, dinosaur cake, plastic swords, and sidewalk chalk. Nathan loved every second. Daniel showed up late. Of course. He looked around and muttered. "Bit underwhelming, don't you think?" I handed him a juice box. "You're welcome to help next year." He didn't say another word the rest of the party. Later, while I was scraping frosting off a folding chair, Nathan came up to me. "Daddy said your party was boring." I froze for a second. Braced. But before I could say anything, he added, "I told him I like boring. Boring feels safe." I sat down on the grass. "Is that how you feel with me? Safe?" He nodded, then ran off to chase a kid in a shark costume. And I just sat there, letting that word echo through my chest like a heartbeat. Safe. That's all I ever wanted. I thought I was fighting for custody, for fairness, for the right to be seen. But really? I was fighting for that word. Safe. Sometimes I still wake up in a sweat. Courtrooms. Envelopes. Daniel's voice whispering, "Don't tell mommy." But I also wake up to the sound of cereal being poured too loudly, to giggles from the bathroom, to a child humming off-key in the hallway while dragging a chair across the floor to reach the bowls. Daniel's voice doesn't echo in our walls anymore. Not because he's gone, but because this home no longer holds his shape. It belongs to us now, to bedtime books and Lego messes, to big, loud art and early mornings, to healing. One night, I passed by Nathan's room and saw him asleep with a crumpled paper under his hand. I gently pulled it free. It was a drawing. A house with bright windows and a fireball sun in the corner. 2 stick figures inside. One big, one small, holding hands. And above them, in wobbly letters, "Me and Mom. No bad days." That was the moment I realized. I hadn't just survived. I'd rebuilt. There's one more moment I need to tell you about. It wasn't loud. No courtroom. No envelope. No final blow. Just a hallway. A Sunday morning. And a knock at my door. Daniel. I didn't open it right away. I checked on Nathan, still asleep, arms tangled in his blanket, then stepped outside and closed the door behind me. He looked tired. Not the kind you fix with sleep. The kind that settles into your bones when the mask you've worn for too long finally starts to crack. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Keep your voice down," I said. "Nathan's sleeping." He nodded. For a moment, we just stood there. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. "I signed the revised custody agreement," he said. "No more back and forth. No more motions. I won't contest anything." I didn't take it. "Why now?" He stared at the ground, like the answer was written somewhere in the cracks of the concrete. "Because he talks about you like you're his whole world." And I realized, I tried to take that from both of you. It didn't feel like closure. It felt like truth. And truth doesn't arrive clean. It comes late. It limps. "You hurt us," I said. He nodded. "I know. Not just me. Him. You made him doubt who was safe." His eyes welled up, just for a second. "I can't undo it," he said. "But I want to be better. For him. Even if it's from a distance." I didn't say I forgave him. I wasn't there yet. But I took the paper. And I said, "Then start by showing up when you say you will. No more surprises. No more gifts. Just be consistent. Steady." He nodded. Then he turned and left. I stood there for a long time after the door shut. Not crying. Not shaking. Just still. That night, I didn't tell Nathan about the conversation. He didn't need to carry that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Instead, I lay beside him while he told me a bedtime story he made up on the spot. It was about a space knight who saved a planet made entirely of jelly beans. He said the knight didn't have a sword. Then how did he save the planet? I asked. "He just stayed," Nathan said. "He didn't run away. He didn't leave the jelly beans alone. That made the bad guys leave." And I smiled. Because he understood more than I ever gave him credit for. Because staying matters. Because healing isn't just what happens after the war ends. Sometimes, healing is the war. It's waking up in the ruins and choosing to stay. To clean. To rebuild. To make a home out of what's left. That's what I do now. Every day. Not for revenge. Not for pride. But for Nathan. For the woman I lost. For the life we still get to live. And if someday he asks me, "Why didn't you give up, Mommy?" I'll tell him. Because I finally learned the difference between being quiet and being strong. And I chose strength. Over and over again. A year has passed. It feels like a lifetime. And a single breath. Nathan started kindergarten this fall. First day, he wore a backpack too big for his shoulders and neon green sneakers he picked out himself. His super fast shoes, he called them. As we stood outside the school, waiting for the bell, he looked up at me and said, "You don't have to come in with me, Mommy. I'm brave now." I smiled, held it together until he disappeared behind the glass doors. Then I sat in my car and cried. Not because I was afraid, but because I was proud. Because a year ago, I didn't know if we'd ever get here. To mornings with cereal and knock-knock jokes, to backpacks and books and bubble baths, to a rhythm that wasn't built on fear. Now, we have quiet. We have Lego towers that lean too far and fall anyway. We have drawings on the fridge and banana bread that never quite rises. We have safety. Daniel still exists in the background. He does his part. He shows up. Sometimes sends a text asking how Nathan's doing. I answer. Briefly. Factually. No warmth. No venom. Just boundaries. Forgiveness isn't something I owe him. It's something I may never give. But I don't carry the weight anymore. Some days, it lifts easier. Other days, not at all. But I keep walking. I even signed up for school again. 2 online classes in child psychology and social work. Just to see. Maybe someday I can help someone like Linda help me. Maybe someday I'll be someone's voice in the dark. Nathan thinks it's cool that mommy has homework too. We're school buddies, he says. He still draws all the time. Our apartment, the sun, the stick figures. Lately, he started adding words. Safe. Happy. Sometimes I find them taped to my pillow. One night, he came running into the kitchen, waving a new drawing. It was us, just the 2 of us. And this time, the smaller stick figure had a cape. That's me, he said. I'm your superhero now. I kissed his forehead. You always were. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I sat at the table and looked at that picture. And I let myself feel it. The grief. The rage. The quiet pride. Because this wasn't just a story about custody. It wasn't even about Daniel. This was about waking up. Choosing yourself after years of forgetting how. Reclaiming the one thing no one ever has the right to take. Your voice. So if you're hearing this, and you're still in the storm, if you feel small, or invisible, or broken beyond recognition, hear me. You are not crazy. You are not weak. And you are not alone. And if no one else shows up to save you, save yourself. Start there. That's what I did. And it was enough to change everything.